anybody that lives through that went through the path of those years has a story. Might be something that is unique, and each one of us is unique. We all have something to tell you. We all have something to say. To begin with, who am I? What's I ever done? That's wrong. That's what was told to me by my rabbi. We are still human beings, but nobody knows what that stuff is waiting for them. Me, I was born in Poland. Lodz was a city. I was born in 1930. To a family that was extremely religious. As a matter of fact, my grandfather was a Ghetto host. And you can see that I wandered away from the line of things. But it's always going to be back. I was born to a husband and wife that already had 2 children. Myself and my brother, who was 2.5 years younger than myself. When the war broke out, I was only 9 years old. My brother, on the other hand, was 6.5. I was born in Lodz. Now, that in itself tells a story. Lodz was a very highly populated food station, which are Germans by birth, but they lived in Poland. A very tremendous amount of those people lived there. September of 1930. I'll be finished with this everything.
I'm getting exercise.
The Germans marched into Poland, and the period of 2 weeks transcended the whole country. People don't realize how big a country it is, even though it's small compared to the United States, but it's a very small country. Yet, the problem that I remember as a kid, the airplanes that the Poles had, when the war broke out, they had disassembled to sleep or cleaning. I don't know how you could fight a battle that way. Eventually, as time was rolling out, we saw a ghetto being constructed. Here in all the little towns from around the Lodz area, They all had, they all wanted to change into something, but nobody knew which way to go. A lot of people migrated to Russia. Isn't that like jumping out of the fire into the frying pan, or vice versa? As a matter of fact, all the little towns that were around the lodge had a very great population of Jews. The population estimate before the war, just about the war time, was almost 50% Jewish. For half a million, a quarter of them Jews. And as a matter of fact, just to wander away for a minute and give them a feeling of what it was. Piotr Poland was very much dominated by Jewish religion. Rabbi Lau, with now is so Lau from Israel. His father was the rabbi of Piotr. That whole family was Rabbinic. And so on. After a little while, my father decided there was a way to get out of it. So what he did, he translated my mother, grandmother, and grandfather, and as much as they could put on a wagon, they loaded it up with whatever they could. And for us kids, we were kidding. We really enjoyed that jumping and calling and coming, but to my dad it was very, very hard work. Eventually, we took off from Lodge for 180 miles or kilometers rather, to a little town which was near Kids, Busko, and all those areas. Those and they had, and we wound up in a little town of Lakewood with my parents. That's when my father was born. Mind you, the population in that little town was 4,000. 75% was Jewish. They felt like we were home. I visited it 10 years ago. The shul that was there is gone. The mikveh that was there, nobody even knew that there was a mikveh, except little guys like me. Because we used to play around the mikveh. And so on. And that was 19, by this time we are into the double digits. 1941, we were still without the ghetto in that little town. But the Germans did not want to hear that. They were going to get it. They were going to have a ghetto made up. After a little while, sure enough, one morning, around October of 1941, the Germans knocked on the windows for all the houses. And by our house, most of the houses had shutters. So they were banging on the shadows. All the Jews have to come out to the center of town. They bring a little valise with them. They're only going for a resettling program. The resettling was not a happy time. Or it meant for another couple hours of freedom. My dad, for some reason or other, knew something that was coming. And him and two neighbors, they take a shelter. They built it in one part of the house because the house's floor did not have any floors. So you could dig. At night, when everybody was sleeping, the men folks would go and dig that hiding place. The place must have been about 10 foot long, 4 foot wide, and about 5 foot high. They managed to have 10 women, and 10 children. No male was allowed to go in there. In my parents' household was my mother, my brother, myself, and one of my grandmothers. I went into a hiding place. That hiding place, everybody sat around on benches. 2 benches were in there. It was fine for about 2 days. Now we started running out of water. Started running out of food. How do we get the stuff down here? Well, we have the Chapnick boys. My brother and myself. By this time I was 11 years old and he was 9.5. And we would go out, go down to the river with 2 buckets and come back with 2 buckets of water each. We developed muscles like you never believe. 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Now food was starting to be very, very hard to get. The bakery, which was mostly non-existent, we used to go down to the bakery early in the morning, before they even opened up. We'd knock on the door, and the baker, who happened to be in Polish, knew us very, very well. My grandparents and parents had a very important part of that little town. The slaughtering of animals was part of my grandmother's property. They also had non-kosher, which was another section of town for slaughtering non-kosher animals. How I remained and how I remembered all the things, it amazes me sometimes. It took many years before I could even start talking about it. And if the ones I did talk about, they would say, what kind of boogermeister do you make up? Once, twice, 3 times. By the 4th time you were a beaten horse. You weren't going to do anything anymore. So we left it hanging till 1986, 85, 86. And we started finding out that people would start talking, or people like Elie Wiesel, who was with me in France, and I see him from time to time. Actually, we can't afford him in here. You have to be practical. And the things ran on. Eventually, after 2 weeks in that hole in the ground, it was voted by all the women that we're going to get out and we're going to free ourselves out from this place. Sure enough, we came out and I said, I know a place in the river where we could walk across. I used to go swimming, try and swim over there, but it was too shallow for swimming. Let's go down to the river, go across the river, and hide in the bushes. And then at night we could go wherever we want to go during the night. At the same time, that was a week of full moon, and we could walk at night alongside the river. We came walking out of the hiding place about 5 o'clock in the morning. It was still moon time, and when I made the statement, I said, if you don't want to go, I'm going to go myself. Well, they saw that I was a very stubborn little guy. I said, well, maybe he does have right. My grandmother said, okay, I'll follow too. My mother said, I have no chance. Are you 2 out of 4? My brother didn't know anything. He said, just take me in for doing things. I'll walk and then I'll do anything you want me to do. We walked down to the river, we crossed it. The water was kind of chilly. And then we went across, and I said, you know what, better? Let's walk along the edge of the water. They looked at me. I says, don't look at me. This is how we're gonna stop him from walking down with dogs. And sure enough, they came down with dogs about 2 hours later. Couldn't find us. And what happened? We stayed out there. At night, we took off for a little town 20 kilometers away. Well, we still had Jewish people that were not gone away. And what happened, well, they took the whole little town, the Jewish population of the whole little town, and they took them to a station where there was car loads, where they filled them into the car loads. Well, some of it was told to us, and some of it we found out afterwards. And we knew that the Germans left 50 people, 50 Jews, in a little ghetto, open ghetto, what they call. And we took advantage in the morning after marching all night right next to the Vizsla. We kind of got to a little town. There was everybody in that area was intermarried. As a matter of fact, myself, I married a French girl. Now, I say French girl. She was born in France, but her father was a very religious. Her father was a Shiva Bucher. Her grandfather was a very pious man, and she herself was not that as religious as most of the people here, but she is a religious woman. And that's how the whole population was in that area. That whole area was very much taken by Jews. Anyway, we stayed in the cousin's house. There was a bunch of relatives we had in that little town. We didn't sleep all night, so we went to sleep. And after about 3 to 4 days of being in that little town, we got a warning at night that the Germans are surrounding the town. They're going to resettle these people. Now, what happened is yeah, good job. Could you share with me your job? Anyway, my grandmother said, this is the last, this is as far as I went. Whatever happens to all my cousins over here, it'll happen to me. That was the last time I saw her. I saw my dad gone, and my grandmother is gone. Just my mother and my brother and myself. We walked in to that little ghetto town that we had left a week ago. And there was a notice for all the Jews that ran away. We allow them to come back to the ghetto. How much better do you want? We went and found a little building, and my mother was very happy that way. My job was to get bread, butter, cheese, whatever. The farmers did not have much, but to us they even had less. My grandmother had some land that they gave it out to a Polish fellow, and he paid them so much every year for allowing to use the land, the farmland that they had. Also, she had cows, she had horses. Lebendige Welt. Eventually, we had made good contact, and I would go to the farmers. I would pick up the nourishments and bring it back. This one day, I had a promise by a farmer that he says, we are baking the bread. And I don't remember whether it was Wednesday or Thursday or some day in the middle of the week. And whatever it is, you'll pay me for it. At least we had the food. On the way back, I picked up a bread. I wanted to know is something the size of a Volkswagen tire, weighing about 10 kilos. Little guy like me just throwing his sack over my shoulder, and I'm off. I'm walking back. I'm whistling. I'm singing to myself. Mom is going to be so happy to see me with all the bread. When I come walking in, I found my brother in tears. I said, what's the matter? Oh, the truck came down. A truck came down from Kelsa Hasak, which is an ammunition factory, and they needed workers. My mother at that time was only about 30 years old. Good looking and strong. And I helped my brother cry a little bit, but I saw there was no way that we could cure that. We have to think about ourselves now. And sure enough, after the trucks left, the notice was given to the inhabitants of the ghetto. We want to see the 4 boys, which was my brother, 2 other boys that hooked up with us, and myself. Now we're going in hiding. We can't show our head. At night, we were sleeping in barns. You name it, houses, old abandoned houses, because all those Jewish people that left so many things. We were kind of afraid to go into the houses. Well, the places that we like most was something that you were away from everything. At night, we would go to sleep. One was always on duty. Every 2 hours, we would change around another boy for 2 hours. It's not that somebody's going to catch us. It was we were afraid, and that was my doing. We were afraid that we shouldn't freeze to death. So we would walk back and forth for 2 hours. 2 hours later, we'd wake everybody up, walk around for 15 minutes, and back to sleep you go. The best one was stables. God, they were wonderful. You say, what do you mean, what's so wonderful about a horse, a cow, or a chicken, or you cuddle up to one of those animals and you get to some of their body heat. And when you fall asleep, it's a high. Anyway, we go through for about 2 months like that. We got a notice, because we kept contact. We got some food from the Ghetto and so on. We get notice that they open up the Ghetto again. They bring in some fresh blood. And we did it very, very, very nicely. But when we came walking in, we didn't have where to stay. And then when we finally did, we had a little potbelly stove. We loaded it up with wood and coal and get it red and hot. Went down to the river, got some water, and we boiled the water. Got undressed because there was little animals creeping on our bodies. I have not seen anything like that in my life. And as long as I've been living in the United States, I haven't seen that many little animals that creeped around our body. We took our clothing, we boiled it in that water, took it out and got the other half of the body uncovered, covered the new stuff, and off we go. We are now wonderful human beings. One day, about a weekend, the truck came around again, gave us a notice that Mom is in Kielce. She's in an ammunition factory, and she is settled over there. She wants for us to go to the same room to see her. We did. This time we couldn't get any more on the truck. The truck was full. He says, I'll be back tomorrow. We still need some more people. They came back. They came back for more cheap people. They got me. They promised me that they're going to bring my brother with another boy. One more boy came with me. And now he said, I'm going to see Mom again. Pulled in with the trucks, jumped down off the truck, and one of the inmates came up to me and says, "You are Chapnick?" I said, "Yes." This morning they took her out and a few more women to another factory. Well, that just blew the wind out of my sail. Got my room. I was in a bunk. You now trying to I'm by myself. I don't have my brother. I don't have my mother. My dad is gone. My in-laws, my aunts and uncles and cousins and God knows what, they all gone. What do? I went to work. There were 3 more boys like that. We kind of shared our load. Eventually, we hear that the Russians are approaching. We also hear that the Ghetto was liquidated. And we're waiting for Mashiach. We're waiting for somebody to get us out. Nobody can. Everybody has his own little bundle of problems. Eventually, I was very handy. I became a foreman over machinery. Here I was 12 years old, or 12 and a half, or something like that. And I'm directing 6 women. They would feed the machines. I would repair the machines whenever they needed. I didn't do that all by myself. I want you to know that whatever you do in life, there is somebody helping you. If it's not a human flesh, it's the guy above. There is always that help coming. We could never accomplish anything without some help. Eventually, one day, they came with a bunch of trucks and they moved us to another place, and another place, and another place. We are now in Częstochow. Częstochow was a very important place. We have all kind of things that faces us, but we have no idea which way it's going. And on the 5th of January, 1945, we get the order. I could sit here all night telling you stories, and which are very, very real, but time is. My wife is going to kill me. Men det flesh jag kan läsa för kosher killing. Anyway, we were traveling through Germany. The first stop was Auschwitz. when we pulled in by Auschwitz, there was a sign, geschlossen, which means it's closed. And there's one little thing. We got to go back into the railroad cars. Railroad cars with be taken, we don't know where. After 15 days, or 14 or 15 days, something like that, we were, and we were pulled into a siding, and everybody had to get out. And we start walking. In twos, we are walking into the camp. And when we get really close, we see a big sign, Buchenwald. Well, we've heard something about it, but we didn't know what it was. Well, now we were marching into the camp, and there's another sign on the gate. Jeden das Seine. Everybody gets their home. Now we come into a place, to a room about 1.5 times as big as this room. And we have orders to get undressed completely, put the clothing in very nice little bundles, don't mix them up. And you feel they really something. But the next, before you go any further, there's a vat over there, a big vat of chlorinated water. And you have to walk in it and get covered from head to toe. And you say, well, I'll cheat him a little bit. I won't let him get ahead of me. So if you did that, there were 2 German soldiers standing on either side of the vat with a butt of the rifle that would push you under. That now you come out of that vat and you're burning like hell, and you were trying to get some water, and you cannot. You're afraid that those little valves up there might be spewing bad stuff. But that happens too. Somebody decides they're going to pull the chain. Nothing's off. It's water coming out. Everybody running for the showers now. You clean off, and you get going further up. We walk into a room about another side of this room with a counter, and they're handing out clothing. But before you get the clothing, you take a look at 2 black fellows. What do they do over here? And not only that, they speak a different language. I can't understand them. Here I am, I know 5 languages. Don't know anything about that one. Come to find out later on that they were American Negroes. There was 10 Americans in Buchenwald. Buchenwald had 39 nationalities. To make this very short, after being in that concentration camp for, first of all, the first 2 nights, 2 weeks rather, we were shoved into a bunk, 10 foot by 4 foot, into that little spot. They were able to squash 60 people. And if you want to turn over at night from one side to the other side, you had to wake up all 16 people, and you wake up in the morning during the night, and there's one guy doesn't move. One grabs one leg, another moves another leg, another arm, or out of the bunk they go, and that's it. Here I felt that I was already pushed to the brink. When 2 weeks later, I get a call. Now this was Block 66. We're going to be being transferred to the children's block. That was the biggest thing that ever happened to me. They set us up on the ground, and a little German that was also he was, let's see, I can't think of, I was trying to think of his name, but Willie was his name. Willie says, I'm as bad as you are, except that I have privileges you don't. He was a German, whatever you call it. Anyway, he says, over here you are not anymore Jewish. That's a religion. You're going to wear your Star of David, or are you going to take it off over here? Nobody is being. He really made order, and when 4 months later, when they came walking in, the JSS came walking in and said, we have to take all the Jewish boys out of here. He says, where do you see Jewish boys? And we don't have no Jewish boys. We got Poles, we got Hungarians, we got Czechs, but no Jewish boys. No, they went away. Of course, 3 days later, half of those people that went on a march were dead. 3 days later was the 11th of April. April 11th was the day of liberation for us. We were liberated by peasants, the Third Army. Eventually, something happened to me. 3 weeks after being out of the camp, I get deadly sick. I get measles, Had that happened 4 weeks before that, I wouldn't have been here talking to you. This is hanging around there till, oh, incidentally, I gotta tell you this little story. This is something that you really will enjoy. There was a little boy in that barrack, in Barrack 8. We called him Lulek. You call him Howell, the chief rabbi of Israel. And he matched right in with the guys. He was 8 years old. His brother was 16. And they taught him how to play chess. What do you think this little stinker does? He beats every Russian that was in the camp in chess. 2 weeks later, playing 2 or 3 boards at the same time. This was Nachas. Yiddish Nachas. Anyway, on the 5th of June, we were 427 of us, was transferred into France. There's another rabbi that helped us there too, Rabbi Schechter. His son is now a rabbi in the Bronx. Now you get something to look up. And Rabbi Lau at that time was 8 years old. So he had a lot of people voting for him in France. But he went to Israel and went through the things, and that was it with him. Another person that was with us was Eli Wiesel. He showed up when I was. A couple more boys came to visit him when he came to the United States in 1950. Anyway, then I shall meet you at the same juncture. And when we have some more time, I would like to finish it off. Thank you very much for listening.
Wiesel was good at chess too? Wiesel was good at chess?